All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mir Search for Huru, and I have the brother Dawud in the on the live stream today. We've been active today. The BAIO. We've been getting it in this week.
Word.
Me, you, Holip, Kala, all
Word.
in one week. That's the first. That's the first, brother.
Word up. I was like, how can I be down?
Yeah, I'm like, we gotta get brother Dawud on too. True. So everybody, today's topic is, what is your role in nationhood? So, brother, I think just really we just need your guys' support. I mean, as Kala says, as Holip says, as brother Dawood also mentions as well. Do you support land, infrastructure, and nationhood?
Right.
That's all.
Bottom
I
line.
mean, just support that. I
Right.
mean, if you don't want to get your hands dirty, if you want to get into the weeds, if you don't want to get heavily involved, brother, do you support land, infrastructure, nationhood?
Mm-hmm.
I do. All right, we're good. It's all good. So brother Dawood, go ahead and take it away.
Well, first of all, brother, thank you very much for having me on the show once again. I'm listening to the shows that's being done by Hollip and as well as Kala and yourself. I come to your show on days where they're not on, and it's usually fire. It's always fire. And I comment sometimes I don't comment, but it's an honor to be on your platform that you're building. And I'm happy that you're subscribing. Your subscriber count is growing and stuff like that because you have a positive message. The role of nationhood. What is your role in nationhood? The reason why I think that we need to talk about this is because I look sometimes at the comments when I am on a show done by either Kala or Holla.
Right.
People are in the chat room saying things like, there's this one dude, this one troll dude that always says, has the BAIO purchased land?
Right. That. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? There's one
Right.
dude, he asks the questions and how much land have they purchased or whatever. And then there's other people that ask these same questions every time they come in. Well, we all have a different personality and flavor in the BAIO, and we all have different focus. I like to focus on the technical aspects of things because my background is I am a security technician, entrepreneur, installer, and so I deal with science on a daily basis. Being a guy that deals with science on a daily basis, I try to get into those aspects of nationhood that have to deal with science and deal with things that are verifiable and things that can be proven with mathematics and common law. And so collectively, what is your role in nationhood? As far as I'm concerned, when it comes down to it, what you call it? It's okay. Kyle is there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He said he's gonna be watching. I just got to.
Fantastic. I'm honored. Thank you, very big brother. Collectively, first of all, nationhood is a mentality before it's a physical aspect. Do you have the mentality for nationhood? I used to refer on my show, and I used to do the blog talk show through BI Radio. I used to refer to what's called the nationalist mental architecture, which means that first and foremost, if you're in the United States Navy, years ago, they would say that your slogan was duty, honor, nation. So you knew that you had a duty to your country. You knew you had to serve and live with honor. And then you knew that you had to be about your nation. Well, to be a part of the BAIO and to be a person that thinks collectively about nationhood, your mental architecture needs to be a nationalist one, which means you want your own nation. So that eliminates we can do it right here. That eliminates we have to do it here before we do it anyplace else. You have to first and foremost begin to put your mind, we have to put our minds on how can I best be of use if and when, not if, but when we have land off the shores of America. You also, before anything, have to get it in your head that the host country has to be off the shores of America. You have to be willing to fight for it. You have to be willing to die for it. You have to be willing to sacrifice for it. You have to be willing to live your life and devote a portion of your life to that nation collectively. Also, we have to begin to think about certain behaviors we have towards one another. If you got the light skin and dark skin thing, you got to start working on that. If you have the Black American versus the Haitian thing, or the Black American versus Jamaican thing, you got to work on that. Because going to another nation, some people say, well, you're going to take your ignorance over there. Well, quite frankly, some people will try to. But if you and if we agree that we want to have nationhood, then we got to start thinking that. And we can't wait till we get there to say, well, he's my brother over here, but I hated his black Dominican ass over there. You can't think like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So collectively, first and foremost, we have to start getting our mind state in. Let us try to band together under one uniting principle. And that's the uniting principle starts with infrastructure. So collectively, we first have to get our minds on how are we going to relate to one another and how best to fix some of the problems that we go through here in America and not carry them over there. So that when we get over there, it's all about smooth running. It's all about understanding that you're sacrificing the ego for the whole, but also understanding that the nation itself is built to work for you. Because, brother, to be very honest with you, I've been a part of many organizations that use the Kennedy model, which is ask not what your nation could do for you, ask what you could do for your nation. Well, to me, that's partial bullshit, because people use that in order to get as much blood out of your black ass as they possibly can and never give you nothing in return. So you get to be 40 or 50 or 60 years and you've been asking what you could do for your nation, and you never asked what your nation could do for you. The nation that we want to build is a nation that's going to serve the people. And when you get that into your mind, it's a different mentality that you have building from the ground up, because you're saying, okay, we're going to build this, but how does that serve the people? We're going to build that, but how does that serve the people? If you're going into business, you're not going into business with the white supremacist view of I got to screw my customer in order for me to gain value or whatever. You're going to it saying, how does my brother or sister get the best value of it? But at the same time, how does this help me live a better quality of life? These are some of the things collectively that is our responsibility and our role in nationhood.
Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Thank you so much for joining us. What about let's see here. What other objections do we get? Do we have land? We couldn't build it here in America. So how can we build it somewhere else? The white man is Thanos. He's everywhere. Whatever he do, he's going to come shut it down. Let's deal with that one.
Okay.
Brother Dawud, the white man shuts down everything and it's Thanos. Let's deal with that one.
Okay, so first and foremost, all of us, well, not all of us, but if you are, I'll just say this, if you're about nationhood, then I can reasonably assume that you're serious about certain things in your personal life. Because, big brother, nationhood is the highest, to me, it's the highest level of intelligence dealing with the Black Power movement. You've already tried the group thing. You've already tried the meeting thing. You've already tried the lecture thing. You've already tried that. So if you're about nationhood, then that means that you're serious about what you're doing in your life. So if you're serious about what you do in your personal life and you have some kind of skill that you make a decent amount of money off or whatever, then you know that you can't take no for an answer. You know that when you come up against an obstacle, it's not about it's too big. You have to overcome that obstacle. So for you to come on our show talking that bullshit about how the white man is going to stop us from this, that, and the next thing, but in your personal life you let nothing stop you, I think you're being very disingenuous. The fact of the matter is that when we put our minds to it, we can overcome anything that we try to overcome. And quite frankly, to be very honest with you, anything is possible as long as we have skills and as long as we have something to offer people. When people say, when are you going to have land? The question is, what do you have what do you have in order to, what do you have in order to be attractive enough for somebody to allow us to have that land? What is it that you have? What is it that you contribute? What is it that you will give? Because I really think, as you said many times on your Facebook page, brother, you say when you talk to the elders in Africa, they say they're waiting for us to come. And is that right? But they're not. I think you're muted. Either you're muted.
Correct. Yes. Correct. Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I think I was muted. Did
No,
you?
no. I was actually muted. I have muted myself for a second.
Okay. Cool. So nevertheless, I'm sorry. So nevertheless, when those elders are asking, they said we're ready for you to come over. I'm pretty sure they're making a natural assumption, and the assumption that they're making is that you're not going to come over there to sit in the streets and beg with cans.
Well, right, exactly. Is if you guys are serious and ready to build, by all means, we'll give you land.
Exactly. So they're assuming we got something to offer.
Right.
And this is where we got to say to ourselves, if they're telling us that when you guys are ready and serious, see, those two words are very important, ready and serious. And what they imply is you guys have the skills, you have the experience, you have the know-how, but best of all, you have the drive. And you're ready to overcome every obstacle that you can in order to get what we're giving you and do something with it. See, for me, it's like this. I'm a part of a fatherhood organization, right? And there was a couple of dudes that was in the organization that's not there anymore. But I came in on the tail end because I was working on the road for a little while. And then after a while, what ended up happening was is that I became a part of the organization. So boom, so when that came in, the organization had many different programs. My program was the domestic violence program, and I had support groups. Other people had this and that. So a couple of disagreements broke out because they were saying, well, we're not getting enough support in our group. We're not getting enough support for our program. But see, me, I grew up in the Nation of Islam culture. And what we were taught is you never say anything is impossible. You just make it happen.
Right.
So what I did was
Hey, you got to repeat that again. People need to hear that.
without a doubt, I was taught that there's no such thing as an excuse. We was taught that whatever you get, you just got to make it happen. You just got to make it happen. It's not about saying the white man's going to stop you. The white man's going to do this. He's not going to do that. You just got to make it happen. And so therefore, what I did was I took a domestic violence class that only had like 5 people and grew it to standing room only in 2 different cities, and took my support group and grew it to the point where it was viable, because all I ever knew was getting an assignment and making it happen. And I didn't need somebody to get behind me. And let me tell you something, brother. I'm a child of domestic violence, but I did not know how to teach a domestic violence class. So what I had to do was I had to study the books. I had to get the information. I had to watch videos. I did anything that I could in order to apprise me of it. And then I had to get out there in front of a whole bunch of brothers who were mandated by parole and try to reach them. Because, Brother Dinas, I never been to jail before. And so I had to bridge the gap between me and them and meet them where they was at and let them know, look, brother, even though I've never been to jail before, I've been in a situation like you've been, where I've had contentious situations with ladies. And so let's try to learn about this domestic violence thing together so that we don't commit it and we don't fall into it. And when I came from that perspective, then they respected that. But it took me some kind of overcoming, because I could have said, look, I ain't never been to jail. They mandated by parole, so I wouldn't know. But you know what I'm saying? So all these excuses that we be using, to me, is nothing more than us saying, well, I don't want a nation, and I really don't want you guys to have a nation. So let me just throw a bunch of obstacles out there for you. As far as the land part is concerned, if I may say, I'm sorry, I know I'm being long-winded.
No, go ahead.
As far as the land part is concerned, well, what exactly are you going to contribute to the land? You're asking us to buy it. Okay, what are you going to contribute to the land? Do you know how to farm? Do you know how to operate certain vehicles and equipment that is used to mine the land? Do you know anything like that? Do you know anything about electricity? Do you know anything about civil engineering? In the BAIO, we got electrical engineers, we got civil engineers, we got people like myself that are security engineers. We got so many people at the highest level of thinking in certain industries. When you tell us, are you going to buy land? Buying the land is the end result. What we need to do now is get together, organize, get on one page. And as we are meeting all around the country and getting together on one page, the depth of talent that we have, then we begin to think, well, what's the best way to use it? See, brother, we made the mistake many years of just coming together. I know what you look like. You know what I look like. Hell, let's jump over to Africa now. That's crazy. That's crazy. If there's one thing the white man will stop, he'll stop that. You know what I'm saying? But when you come together in a strong organization with a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year plan, that can't be stopped. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're talking about. That can't be stopped because you figured out every contingency. You figured out every permutation of error, and you know what you're doing. But with people who just go to work and punch the clock and come home every day and really don't have no interest in life, they're going to ask those kind of questions. And you're telling on yourself. I'm talking to you in the chat room. You're telling on yourself when you ask stupid questions like that, because a real go-getter, alpha male, alpha female, they're not going to ask things like, well, the white man's going to stop you. You guys don't have land. They are the kind of people who always try to figure out what's the unfigurable in order to add value.
There's one thing that I noticed that's huge. I think is very important in regards to building, nation building, that the BAIO doesn't have an issue with, unlike other groups, and that's ego. There's no so-called supreme leader. There's no king. There's no head ruler. There's no head this. I'm the HNIC of this. I feel as if egos are in check with the BAIO. I mean, you might have your disagreements, but that's normal. Let's speak on that as far as the ego, because I know you brought that up as well. And as a brother of mine once told me, it's not ego, it's we go.
Indeed, indeed. And that's a very good question, big brother. That's a very good question. I refer back to my favorite part of the movie X-Men First Class, where Magneto says, "I've been at the mercy of men who followed orders my whole life. Never again." See, when we become a part of the BAIO, we're sick of being at the mercy of men and women who follow orders. We're sick of being in organizations where one guy is at the head, everybody got to listen. We're sick of people grandstanding and kissing ass trying to get close to that one person that's at the top. You're sick of that if you're part of the BAIO. So what happens is you have realized now that it didn't work, and that one person being the head of a fiefdom did not work for you. So now you're part of an organization where everybody gets an equal say. Brother man, we argue every day. Sometimes I go to work, and then lunchtime I'll be sitting somewhere snacking on my canola or whatever, and I see hundreds of comments between Kyle and Holler. And I'm like, yo, these dudes is getting at each other. You know what I'm saying? But the beautiful thing about it is that it's not like, well, F you Kyle, F you Holler. At the end of it, it's basically like, all right, well, either we agree or we disagree, and it's all love. And to me, that's what's beautiful about the BAIO. We can argue like that, and we can still be friends. We can argue like that with women and still be friends. And that's another thing that I love about the BAIO, is that it's not a male-dominated organization.
Right.
Sisters in the BAIO love being a part of it, and they know ain't no dude telling them to shut up and just listen, or you're only to be seen and not heard and things like that. And so I think that the beautiful thing about this is that we built this organization, or I came on later and helped build the organization around the concept that there would be no ego. And I think that the most uniting principle of the BAIO is infrastructure. Because you know something, brother? I can argue against your belief. You can argue against my chosen belief. I'm pretty sure there's somebody in the comments that wants to ask a question about Scientology, even though I don't have a damn thing to do with that nation or that particular practice. But the reality of it is that you really can't argue when we say we all need infrastructure.
Right.
Really can't argue in Flint, Michigan, when they say that they need clean water. That has nothing to do with Hebrews. It got nothing to do with Muslims. It has nothing to do with anybody but the fact that they need the right infrastructure to have the right running water to be healthy. And that's what nationhood really is all about. And that's why we say it has to be off the shores of America. It has to be off the shores of America because the white ego will take place here, and they will want to overcharge you for something that you should have the unalienable right to have, as a member of the nation. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, I think in my honest opinion that we built this organization on the premise that there is to be no ego. For real.
And what about, I know you're a part of the Nation of Islam. What, as the BAIO continues to gain steam and move forward, what can we learn from the Nation of Islam? Like, what can they offer as far as teaching points that we can learn as far as that we can implement with the BAIO?
Well, that's another good question. That's another good question. I didn't expect that. That's fantastic. Brother man, listen. One of the beautiful things about the BAIO is the Nation of Islam can be a part of the BAIO.
Right.
No other nationalist organization could say something like that. Every other nationalist organization tells you, quote unquote, check your religion at the door, right? And so it's not that I'm going to be inside meetings trying to push the nation on everybody in the meeting, but what it is that I can be a part of that. I can grow that, and that can exist in a free black nation. Now, what will we learn from the Nation of Islam? Well, I want to clarify for people in the chat room. I am not a part of the Nation of Islam that is a part of Minister Louis Farrakhan. I want to say that again. I have nothing to do with Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I'm not going to say nothing greasy about him on his radio show. But Anyway, you can tell by my tone of voice there's something there. So either way, nevertheless, what can we learn? First of all, we can learn that it's about sacrifice. It's about putting yourself aside for the greater cause of the nation. What we can also learn is in order for us to build this nation, what's your role in it? You have to have a certain level of discipline. See, when I first became a follower of Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1991, you're given a wisdom, and the wisdom says you have 90 days to divest yourself of the devil's habits, right? And I looked at that, and there's certain things that people will say, well, wow, I still want to be able to do this. I want to be able to do that. And maybe you won't, maybe you can function that way. But what it was basically telling you was, in order for you to build here, you got to be clean, sober, serious, and dedicated. So if you want to, if you ask me on the very lowest level, what can we learn from the Nation of Islam? It's the fact that, number one, you have to sacrifice. And number two, there's certain things that we're going to have to give up in order to be a part of this nation and to be into the nationalist mental architecture, because there's certain things that have been hindering us from being our best self contributing to this nation. And those are two very basic things that we can learn.
Now, let's speak on politics. People who are, I guess, interested in building a nation of their own, should they still participate in the local politics or politics in general in the country that they currently live in now, or should they just completely separate?
You know something? If you want to, you can. Do I recommend it? No. The culture.
Why don't you recommend it?
The what?
Why don't you recommend it?
Because, brother, to be honest with you, first of all, the culture I come from, we stayed the hell out of politics. Okay. Number one. But number two, the reality of it is that, okay, I'll say this here.
Go ahead.
There's a sister that's local here that ran for school board. I supported her as a friend of mine. I know her, whatever.
Where are you located? Which city?
I'm in upstate New York. I'm originally from New York City, specifically Brooklyn, Coney Island, but I'm in upstate New York.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And so I did, you know what I'm saying, like put up Facebook posts and things like that and blah, blah, blah. But do I go out and vote? No. Did I vote for Obama? No. Did I vote for Trump or Hillary Clinton? No. I didn't vote for none of those people because I don't care. You know what I'm saying? The reality of it is I don't care. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. But as you've exposed many times on your show, Brother Dynas, these people is crooked, man.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely.
And these people are looking for a check. And to me, when you get inside politics, a lot of brothers and sisters, well-meaning brothers and sisters, start off wanting to make change. But once they get into office, they realize that this office is nothing but a check. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, the reality of it is that to me, the only time I think that is probably a good thing for you to get inside local politics is if you got some really white supremacist policies coming your way that's trying to take certain things that affect your daily life. Then, okay, you probably might want to get involved with that, but I still think that you're not really doing anything. I still think the ultimate answer is nationhood. So a lot of people are saying the next election, you're probably looking at Kamala Harris, for instance. You know what I'm saying? And my God, brother, we have seen that this chick don't really give a damn about black people. So why would you vote for her? Well, I just don't want to vote for Trump. My goddamn. So now we're doing the lesser of two evils thing, right? And you say, well, I voted for Kamala Harris because I didn't like Trump. So when Kamala Harris does something like Bill Clinton did, which is sign a law increasing incarceration, you're going to look stupid saying, well, I just didn't want Trump. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
It doesn't matter what you do.
And brother, if I can interject, that's been pretty much the political discourse among black people. If you complain or bring up how black politicians aren't doing anything for black people, here's the response. Stop hating, stop bashing black people, and Donald Trump's a racist. But I'm like, okay, but politicians who come to your community meetings, come to your neighborhood, show up to your barbecue and tell you how much they're going to do for us and what they're going to do. And they, I guess, they're more concerned about everyone's interests except for the black interest.
Indeed.
Like, if no one wants to hold them accountable for anything.
Indeed.
Like, blame Trump. Trump's the racist.
Right. Right. And you know what's funny is like, you know, I know people will say, "Oh, I can't believe you're doing that. You should be serious." Like, Negro, please. But you know, if you look at the show Power, on this show, the main character Ghost, his daughter gets shot and killed. So a politician comes around Ghost in order to try to make him look legitimate.
Right.
And every time he's dealing with this guy's trying to get something out of it. He
So
sets up this
sleazy as
exactly right. He
yeah.
sets up this public meeting, this telethon, even though they told him not to give out a reward. And I mean, every time he gets around this guy, it's something. What can I get out of it, brother? Man, in my experience, that's how it's always been. That's how it's always been. And there's been a couple of dudes I've known locally. They've run for office or whatever. And my God, brother, it's like they all change. So for me, the best politics you could have is nationhood.
Right.
The best politics you could have is nationhood. The best politics you could have is uniting with your brothers and sisters, spending money with your brothers and sisters, and attempting to build economics between your brothers and your sisters, helping them as they help you get out there and build a better quality of life with the express purpose of ultimately building something that you all get something out of. That's the best politics to me. Because the reality of it is this: if a black man in the BAIO, let's just say, as we begin to build these BAIO groups, right? And one sister says, "Well, I think that I want to open up this kind of business." Every black every BAIO member in that particular area in your chapter refers 5 customers to you, and there's 15 members. How are you gonna starve after that?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That right there did more for you than David Dinkins, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, and every other president and local mayor or governor did for you in the last 20, 30 years. Because they have just put money in your pocket, and overnight, well, not overnight, but as you continue to grind, your business grows. It gives you improvement. It gives you confidence as a person. You don't have to take white people's crap. You know what I'm saying? There's so much in that. But for us, we want these small gains and we want these small things that we can say that we have. But in reality, being a nationalist means that you want a nation for your people, and it starts with y'all bubbling with each other in your local area and making sure everybody benefits. To me, it's making sure everybody benefits.
Now, you brought up a great point as far as how the BAIO is not male dominated. You have a lot of brothers that would have an issue with that. What would be your response to that?
Let me ask y'all what you're doing that's quote unquote male dominated that works. Now, it's not that the BAIO, it's like where the men are feminine, and it's not like in the BAIO the women are masculine. But everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice. That's what we're building it around. You guys are busy on YouTube watching all of these alpha male videos, thinking that somehow if you allow women to have a voice in your organization, that's matriarchy, and somehow it's going to take away from your manhood. And the reality of it is that, you know, I constantly revert to this book that I've read, and it's called The Women's Role in African Liberation. And I forget exactly what the author is, but I used to use it on my show all the time. And it's a beautiful book because what it talks about is how there was many different African revolutions on the continent, and the women took part in these revolutions and were promised a lot of things. And as soon as the oppressive party was overthrown, the woman was told to go F themselves and didn't get nothing from it.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of resentment do you think that builds? What kind of hate do you think that builds? And how can you move forward if your queen was promised, you know what I'm saying, certain things, if y'all overthrew the government, and now that y'all overthrow it, your queen is told, shut up and sit down. You ain't got no say-so in this, even though you helped. So for us, building a nation, we need men and we need women. And guess what? We don't need women just to stay home barefoot and pregnant.
Right. Everyone, let me shout out some people in the chat room. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you hit that like button as you come into the chat. Bell, thank you so much for the super chats. I appreciate it. All BIO members, please make sure you're communicating with your state chapter. We need to organize. Thank you. So guys, please, if you're active in the BIO, please make sure you're communicating with your people in your local city so we could organize and have our meetups. Let's see here. Those incel.
That's our love homegirl. That's our sister.
Yeah, absolutely. So why BAIO? Like, what was the motivation behind it?
For me or the beginning?
Just in general. Let's. I mean, so people can hear the history.
Okay, I'll talk in general, then I'll talk about me.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, in general, the AIO started with Hollop, a brother named Tim Ford, and I believe brother Andre Devontae Carter, who has passed away. We all knew him as Dev. And what happened was is that Hollop had gone to every organization in New York City and tried to get them all to participate in a unity, because he said that he had realized that they all had a similar message, which was, you know what I'm saying, we need to be together, F the white man. And he said that as he went to every organization in New York City, they all said, I'm not working with them niggas.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way the story goes. And so he decided, screw that. Let's try to find a uniting principle for all black people, no matter what organization you was in. Him, Tim, and Dev, they had this meeting and they came up with infrastructure. And they understood that infrastructure is something that everybody uses. Everybody uses highways. Everybody uses electricity. Everybody uses water. Everybody pays for all of that. And so he understood that that was agnostic, meaning it doesn't matter if you practice voodoo. It doesn't matter if you practice Islam. It doesn't matter if you practice Christianity. You still going to use and pay for that. So if we built, if a nation was built and an organization was built, focusing on that cuts out a lot of the arguments. And you know what's funny? Turns out that they was right. And so for me, what ended up happening with me was this. I was on Blog Talk Radio because, to be very honest with you, I just wanted to do a radio show.
Old school.
Yep. Yep. And I always wanted to do a radio show, right? So sometime in 1998, I remember I was in the locksmith shop because I used to be the shop manager. And there was, I hated local radio because it started to become terrible. So I was listening for something, and by accident, I ran into ESPN radio. So I listened to ESPN radio while I was in that shop for 10 whole years. And as I was listening to it, in my mind, I was like, how can I translate this into a show for black people?
Right.
So when Blog Talk came around, there was my opportunity. I paid for a whole year, and I went on there, brother, man, and I started swinging my sword. Like I just took up shows kind of like you do. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, like you did, I got good. But the funny thing about it was, as I was doing the show was changing me and it was teaching me, because I was on there fighting against these dudes who was anti-religion. I was fighting against these dudes who was anti-movement, anti-organization, because all of these dudes was promoting individualism. I was always promoting togetherness. And so eventually the show changed me, and I evolved to the point where I said, you know something? We're really not going to do a damn thing in America unless we have our own nation. So what I started doing was I started preaching, we should have a nation within a nation. And I started talking about what it would take to have a nation within the nation, what kind of people it would take. And that's what I've always been interested in, more so than anything, is in, because, brother, I love black people. And I think that black people have more talent than we could ever possibly imagine. I think that what stops black people is we are so busy fighting over stupid stuff.
Right. So
what ended up happening is Collar Genesis was on Facebook talking his talk, and I couldn't stand Collar. I really couldn't. And I don't know why. I think I came on his show one day and he said some things to me and I said some things to him. And then what ended up happening was I met this dude named African Warlord X, and we talked for a while. And
he said African Warlord X.
Yeah, African Warlord X. African Warlord X, actually, brother, is a brother from South Carolina.
Okay.
With a freaking physics degree.
Oh, wow.
I mean, yo, that is a very super intelligent brother. It's a good friend of mine too. And he said to me, he said, nah, you don't know Collar, brother. He said, listen, I'm gonna bring Collar on your show, and Collar is kind of talking about some of the same things you talking about. So what ended up happening was, originally it's supposed to be me, Collar, and Holup on the show, and Holup didn't show up that night for whatever reason. So then me and Collar got, and we hit it off, and we realized we did like the same things. So I think Holub did not come on the show on purpose because he wanted to just see what I was all about, because he thought I was just one of those dudes that was just talking Islam or whatever. So then he came on the show later, and me and him hit it off. And eventually, as I started vibing with them, they made me realize, you know what, Brother Dawud? This nation within a nation thing is insanity. You're not going to do that. And you know what I realized, brother? What I realized is, because Nation of Islam, you asked for earlier, what can we learn from the Nation of Islam? Right. There's a whole 200 to 300 page document out there called the FBI files that deal with the Nation of Islam.
Mm.
And much of these files talk about how the nation was totally infiltrated by hundreds of agents.
Which I'm gonna get to my next question, but go ahead.
Indeed, hundreds of agents, and how there was a systematic plan to take down the nation. So as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad got sick towards his ending days, where he really wasn't in control of the nation for like the last 4 years. If anybody really wants to admit that, all of the scholars are saying this, he really wasn't in control of the nation the last 4 years, and the FBI was doing its thing. Because the question is this: how do you build $1 million empire that is taken down in 3 years? How do you build $1 million empire that's taken down in 3 years that wasn't in the name of the leader, was in the name of various different people, and it has to be the government that did that. So what we learn from that is if you're trying to build a quote unquote, and I got my fingers up, nation in America, and you just saw America run down on Marcus Garvey, run down on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, physically run down on Dr. York in Atlanta, why would you try to do that again in 2018?
Right.
And that's when I fully embraced off the shores of America in a separate territory on a continent of our own. We choose Africa, and that was my story.
Now, you mentioned the FBI or CIA insurgency or whatever that affected, or pretty much affected every movement here in America.
Yep.
How would one deal with that? Like, in fact, let me ask you this: how did it end? Because the NOI is still going strong. How did the NOI deal with the insurgents?
Well, here's the thing, though. The beautiful thing about the NOI when Honorable Elijah Muhammad was living is the message that we were preaching was so powerful that when agents would come to the temple, they would confess. They would confess that they was agents, and they would turn. You know what I'm saying? It's when the messenger started getting sick that things started getting out of hand. So when you say that you want to build a nation off the shores of America in a continent of your own, well, of course you're going to have agents. Of course you're going to have agents. But the reality of it is that it's 2018 and you really can't hide anything. And so therefore, you and I, Brother Dynas, we just have to have such a strong dedication to building the nation in our heart that we can't be turned. Because the biggest weapon a CIA or FBI agent is going to use is their mouth. They're going to come amongst you and tell you, well, brother, the reality of it is your family is being sacrificed and you ain't getting nothing in return. See, that's not what we're trying to build. We're trying to build something that your family does get something out of. So they can't use that. Excuse me, they can't use that. So then they're going to say things like, well, they don't like certain people, like they don't like Africans on the low, or they don't like Jamaicans or Haitians on the low. We're going to do everything we can to kill that. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, then they would have to try to come at you through finance. They would have to try to freeze your assets and say you're supporting a terrorist organization. We're going to come up with mechanisms that will make that irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not going to invest a whole bunch of money just for them to freeze it and say, oh, you was investing in a terrorist organization. We learned from that. So we're going to put together think tanks that outthink all of those things. But you weak Negroes out there who think, well, the CIA, they're going to take you down anyway. Well, you just keep thinking that.
Thanos.
Thanos is coming. You know what I'm saying? You just keep meeting with your 4 people in your car every week that you drive around and say uhuru, and you don't do a goddamn thing, while we in the BAIO, we're going to continue to work with hundreds of brothers and sisters to defeat this particular problem.
Shout out to I think Kyla's in the chat room. Shout out to Holip. Shout out to I think Kyla Thanos is in the chat room. Kyla Thanos is in the
I love my brother.
is in the chat room. So shout out to them. Now, so as far as expanding, the BAIO. All right, in fact, let me ask you this: how did the NOI? Because I know the NOI had a lot of characters who were in the organization.
Right.
How did they properly screen everyone, and how can the BIO apply that as well? Because it takes one clown to ruin everything, literally.
Indeed, brother. That's it. Damn, brother Dynas.
I mean, seriously, it takes one clown. Like, seriously.
You got better. Even I always thought you were great, but you got much better in your questioning. That's an excellent question, brother. See, okay, so you know, me, Holla Cola, G-Rap, Havoc, and Prodigy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have big personalities. And we all have our, I don't want to say fans, but we have people like, I want to hear Dawud, I want to hear this one, I want to hear that one.
Mm.
The love has to be greater. The dynamic that we use in the nation is different than the dynamic that we use in the BAIO. See, in the nation, we come home with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we go to work with you. So if you an agent, we're gonna find out sooner or later because we're so close. Like, brother, let me tell you something. On Otherwise, Muhammad, we had investigators who used to come by your house to make sure you was getting up for prayer at 5 o'clock.
Let me tell you, I'll take it to another level. When I did sales in LA, one of my customers was the Scientology.
Oh wow, okay.
They had investigators. Like, for me to even be a vendor, they were pretty much like where you live, and I promise you, they pretty much drove around my block to see what was going on.
Indeed. Yeah, without a doubt. So, you know, I mean, I'm telling you, like, I heard stories from elders. They used to say they would sit outside your house, wait for your light to come on at 5, because we had to pray at 5 o'clock every morning in the nation. They sit at your house, wait for your light to come on. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we knew whether you was an agent or not, because we were so close to you. The BAIO is going to be different, but you know what else? What else helps the BAIO is that I haven't never met Colin in person, but I done already met Colin twice. Sat in his living room.
Mm-hmm.
So we encourage a friendship, and we encourage a friendship in all these different cities. And once you get to know people, like my aunt lives 2 blocks away from Holland, where he lives. Mm-hmm. So you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no hiding. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows where my family lives. I know where his family lives. There's no hiding. But we have to encourage that kind of friendship so that we can get to know each other to the point where we can see. And there's nothing. I tell you a story, brother. A quick story. It's not 100% proof. When I was 23 years old, right, I finally got much of my knuckleheadedness out, and they finally made me first officer. So I was first lieutenant. Mm-hmm. I had a second lieutenant under me that was a government agent, and we didn't even know it.
Whoa. Government agent. Okay. All right.
He was a government agent, and none of us knew it. And the reason why he was sent in the temple, the mosque it was called at that time, was not to spy on us. He was sent in there because we had a couple of members that just had converted over, but they was in the drug game.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And they was in the ring of dudes that was dealing drugs, and he was down with them at one point. He got caught. He instead of getting a sentence, he agreed to snitch on them. So he actually came into the temple, and he surveilled them. He literally had, because he would wear a 3-piece suit, because we don't wear 3-piece suits for security reasons. So he had a 3-piece suit with a wire and a camera in it. So one day, out of the clear blue sky, 2 of the 3 brothers that was in the temple went to jail. And it was everybody was like, what happened? Because, man, we love them brothers. What happened? I don't understand. And what happened was that when it came for trial, don't you know this nigga showed up to testify, had audio and video?
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? Now here's the worst part of this whole thing. The thing is that this brother was constantly asking me, when am I gonna come over to your house and we could have, like, you know what I'm saying, some time together, so I could learn about the military. As a second lieutenant, I got questions, stuff like that, and somehow I just never got around to it. This nigga was coming to my house. So I basically, the reason why I tell you this is to say, brother, man, you just never know. Sometimes you can know as much as you know, but you can't know everything, and you just have to trust in whatever God of your conscience that you believe in, or whatever tradition that you believe in, that eventually these kind of people will be found out. But we got to keep the ranks tight. We got to keep the ranks tight. And that really prevents people coming in infiltrating, because if they see that the love is tight, because it's like this. If you come to me and you say, yo, that nigga Kala, you're not going to get no further than that. Right. You know what I'm saying? If you come to me and you say, man, that nigga Holla, you're not going to get no further. Because I'm going to be like, who? What? You know what I'm saying? When Dev was amongst us, Dev was sort of like the police. You know what I'm saying? Dev will tell you in a heartbeat, man, I'll be pleased with him. I'll punch you in the face. Right. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. I will come to your city. I'll punch you in the face. And that killed a lot of hostility. You know what I'm saying? And he's not with us anymore, but his spirit is with us. You know what I'm saying? So we've always had those kind of people around us that'll tell you, like, don't come around with no foolishness, because you know what I'm saying? So, but basically, I know I said a lot of different things, brother, but never know.
All right, so as far as background checks, because people are always worried, because again, you have so many different personalities joining the organization.
Right.
I've heard horror stories as far as, you'll get some brothers who were ex-Chesters. I don't know if you know what Chester stands for.
Yep.
You do?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay. You mentioned the brothers who just got out of jail for selling dope, who joined the NOI, and then the feds followed them. How do we deal with brothers who aren't serious, that are just trying to evade the law, that might use the, hey, I want to go to Africa, use the, hey, I want to go to Africa stance just to evade the law?
To be honest with you, brother, I don't think they'll let them off the country, off the continent. I don't think you could travel, but at the same time, if they do obtain passports, you really can't stop that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'll say this to you, like, there've been many times where we've gone to trips. Like, for instance, back in the day, at some point when I used to be in Farrakhan's Nation, this fool would ask us to come to Chicago every year.
He said fool. So yeah, okay, all right.
I'm sorry, I let that one out. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Go ahead.
But he would ask us to come to Savior's Day every year. So everybody, it doesn't matter how much money you had to go to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple of times where there was people who had family in Chicago. And oh yeah, I want to go see the minister, and they would get off the van and go see their peoples. You can't really stop that because they paid to go. So there's going to be people who are going to come to the continent and they just want to go to Africa, and you can't really stop it. But what I say, in all honesty, is that our seriousness about what we do will weed out a lot of people that's not serious.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When I first got in contact with you, I didn't know who you was. All I knew was you were doing shows, and Carla was like, I'm on Dynast show. I was like, well, who the hell is Dynast? Like, I didn't know who you was.
Uh-huh.
I listened to your show, brother. And I listened to your show when Carla wasn't on the show. And I said something else, really, that I can't say on this show, but I said, that's my dude.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I didn't say dude, though. So either way, gotcha. You know what I mean? And that was that for me, because I could hear through your voice, you were serious about what you was doing, and you had the love. It's very hard for us not to see, the people that don't have that, you can see it's like the people who talk that Pookie and Ray Ray stuff, like, oh man, I don't want Pookie and Ray Ray on our nation. Are you crazy? Pookie and Ray Ray would be the first one to knock a white man out before you do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Pookie and Ray Ray will tell you, listen, I got a record. My life is over. I want you to succeed. I'll murder anybody that come near you that's trying. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I've heard that on many occasions, brother. Let me tell you something. Since I've been a minister, there's been times where a dude I saw while I was out selling papers may have approached me. And before I could say something, he was in a headlock and on the ground by some dude I never met in my life.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And there was a time I remember I was at a rest station coming back from New Jersey. And I was in the rest station, and this Korean troop dude tried to get loud with me. And these two dudes I never saw in my life approached him. It was like, yo, you don't mess with the brothers, So what I'm saying is that when you're serious about nationhood, it sort of weeds out the people who's fake. It really does. And I'm not trying to say any hocus pocus or religious stuff, but I believe in the creator, and I do believe in energy. And I know that you attract the kind of people that you really strongly believe in, or are congruent with what you believe in. So all of this activity that we're not having on the Ning site, all of these women that we have on the Ning site. See, for me, Brother Dynast, I'm going to be honest with you. When I know that you are right about what you do, is when the creator blesses you with two things, or two entities, women and children.
Hmm.
When you have women in your movement, that's a plus. But when you have children in your movement, that's a big time plus, my brother. When you go to somebody's church or whatever, and you see hundreds of children there, it may seem like it's annoying to people, but what it says is somebody trusts this person with children. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, if you look at, like, every day I look at my email, it's a new sister friending me on the Ning site. I don't take that for granted, brother. I really don't. That means, like, wow, these sisters trust this organization. And so for me, I don't want to do nothing, you know what I'm saying, that's going to violate that trust. But at the same time, what I know is as we begin to vibe and all get on one accord with each other, we're going to be able to see the bullshitters. I really believe that.
Let me ask you this. Let's deal with the Marcus Garvey. I know you brought up Marcus Garvey.
Right.
Now, what mistake did Marcus Garvey make that you think was the fall what he was doing, that the BIL needs to make sure we don't make that mistake. We don't follow in that down that wrong path.
To be very honest with you, brother, it's my position that he didn't make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's my position that his movement had a time, and that time came and left. I know there's a lot of people out there that say things like that. They say, well, where he messed up was, nah, there are times for certain things, and those times come and they go. And there's a scripture, if I may use it, because I know people get crazy when you talk like this, but there's a scripture in the Bible that says, a wise man doesn't tear another man's foundation on, he just builds on it. You know what I'm saying? So Marcus Garvey came, built his nation, built his organization, got deported, right? Then Noble Drew Ali came, tried to build on Marcus Garvey's organization, disappeared. Some say assassinated. I don't know. Honorable Elijah Muhammad came and built on what both of them had and did a great work, passed away. We are to take all of these men's experiences and we are to now build the BAIO off their collective experiences, where they succeeded, where you may think they didn't succeed. And my judgment, like I remember watching the movie Hoodlum. And in that movie, Vanessa Williams, which we all know in real life, that never in a million years would have happened, but she was supposed to be a part of the Garvey movement. Remember that?
Right. That was a good movie, actually, Hoodlum.
Word up, it was. I loved it. You know, I loved that part of it. And she was handing out cans and stuff like that. I thought that was great. So you know what I do locally, brother? On Saturdays, every other Saturday, with my organization, all the ministers that are under me, what we do is we have a free fish giveaway. And what we do is we make fish dinners and we give them out to the people in the community and we just talk to them. And this is acting on the premise of the Garvey movement, because yeah, you may want to sell dinners and make money off of it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, Brother Dynas, how close you live to the hood, but I live right in the hood, and there's still a lot of crackheads out there, brother.
Of course, yeah.
Holy mackerel, there's a lot of crackheads out there in 2018. And it breaks my heart because I never used crack in my life. I drank and I smoked heavily. I was alcoholic at the age of 17, 18, and 19. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I know how I felt when alcohol had its grip on me. I can't even imagine what it would be like with crack having its grip on you. So just to give that person a dinner, they're looking at me like, this is mine, I could take this. And even that will break your heart. You know what I'm saying? But I learned that from the Garvey movement. I also learned that from my teacher, Minister Linwood X, who taught me to give out, to always have dinners and give them out to people that's on drugs, because being on drugs means a lot of times you forget to eat. And the drug takes precedence over nourishment over your body. But my point to you is that if we didn't have Garvey's movement to teach us that, and the Black Panther movie teaches that, and the Nation of Islam teaches that, then we wouldn't know. So it's my position that Garvey, none of these organizations made mistakes. It's my position that they had their time and their time passed. And it just wasn't for forever. It really wasn't. We're trying to make a BAIO that lasts forever. And I think that's why in the movie you see, you know what I'm saying, Black Panther, Wakanda forever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The premise of that is we don't want Wakanda to be something that comes and it goes. We want it to last forever. Say what?
I just said Wakanda.
Right, Wakanda forever. And you know, you got the little V there and stuff like that. People think that's negative. I think it's beautiful, but it is what it is.
All right, we have a question in the chat room. Moana Zion. In fact, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We have 118 people watching, only 71 likes. Let's get these likes up.
Wow.
Search for who? Why create a nation within a nation in Africa? I thought we are trying to break colonial borders. This is going to separate us. What's your how would you respond to that?
Brother man, the problem is that we live here in America and we have access to technology, we have access to resources, we have access to policies, procedures, codes, standards, and things like that. When you don't study that kind of stuff, then you look at all the nations in Africa and say, hell, why don't we all just go to Kenya? Why don't we all just go to this place or that place or whatever? What we are trying to build is a independent nation on the continent of our Africas and our vision. And the problem is that if there is land that is being carved up and given to Chinese, English, United States, whoever it is that may be doing that, why can't we go over there and take a piece of land and try to build something on it? Why can't we do that? How come we can't build a nation in our vision that we think will be sustainable, that will be independent? Because the reality of it is that you're saying, why build a nation in the midst of a nation? The reality of it is almost every nation in Africa is under somebody else's control. Am I lying?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So almost every nation is under somebody else's control. We're trying to build an independent nation. Why can't y'all see that? And so I'm not trying to, I don't know if this person came with a hostile spirit, so I'm not trying to be hostile with them. But what I'm saying is that the BAIO vision is to build a nation in our image and our likeness, the way we feel that it should be ran, and try our best to make it independent. Any other questions?
Shout out to Chima for the super chat, brother Chima. Thank you so much, and shout out to Belle Interact for the super chat. You know, she's always supporting.
I love this. I love this.
Always supporting. This is something I noticed, brother Dawud, and you might have noticed this in the NOI. I noticed this in the Nuwaubian in the Nuwaubian Nation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will get so involved, okay, that if something were to happen, like with the Nuwaubians, and it gets shut down, they have nothing to show for it once it gets shut down, because they're so involved that they've completely stripped away their identity, that, you know, they're pretty much just working for free in order to help build the movement. But then if it gets railroaded, they have nothing to show for it, and a lot of them end up impoverished. I see the same thing like with the Hebrew Israelites. How will the BAIO be different once people get involved and 10 toes on the ground and fully commit to it?
Brother, first of all, like, wow, that what you're talking about now is my passion. That is my passion. And I will take a quote from my good brother Holipsism, which is, we ain't trying to make nobody burn off their shoe leather. that you'll hear him say that if you're around him enough. But here's the thing. Okay, so let's go from the bottom and work our way to the top. Yes, I did see a lot of people give everything and had nothing to show for it. I did. And brother, man, I came on Blog Talk Radio years ago. As the show started changing me, I started talking about this. And when I started talking about this, you should have seen the backlash I started getting from Muslims and people that are from the various different factions of the Nation of Islam culture, because they thought I was taking shots at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, at the Nation of Islam, or whatever. But the reality of it is, it's true. It's true that people have given their lives to all of these organizations and don't have a damn thing to show for it. And what's even more true is that if you go to any city, you're going to run into somebody that says, "Oh, I used to be Nuwaubian."
Right.
And they have that look on their face, like F that. You know what I'm saying? You run into people say, "Oh, I used to be in the nation." And they have that look on their face, and it's like F that. And why is that? It's because they were told that they would have a nation if they sacrificed their life. They got nothing to show for it. Brother, right. You know how fortunate I am, brother, to be 47 and have two skills. I'm a locksmith and electronic security installer. Because let me tell you something, son. I gave my life from the age of 19 to the age of 30, really 37, where I didn't do nothing but go to work every day, punch the clock, and run out there into them streets in one way, shape, or form, trying to build that organization. At some point when I got older, I realized, I said, you know what? I'm still going to be, Nation of Islam is my life, it's my heart, but I got to do something for myself. So I was very fortunate that my dad is a locksmith, you know what I'm saying? And electronic security installer. And my dad always was pushing, get something for yourself, get something for yourself, get something for yourself. And so I went back to school and I studied electronics, and the rest is history. So what I'm saying to you is that BAIO, we refuse to put you in that situation. Right. We refuse. And this is the reason why. See, people, you know why people keep asking us, how come you don't have land yet? How come you have this? Because we refuse to exploit people. We refuse to come up with a goddamn 5-year plan that never does nothing.
Right.
We refuse to tell you that we're going to build a school in Africa. You need to donate, and you never see no damn school. We refuse to tell you that you're going to devote money to farmland, and you never see a damn tomato. We refuse to do that. That's why it takes longer. What we want to do is we want to build a consensus amongst the people, and then reach out and say, listen, if you have it, donate. And we're not going to do that until we have the consensus and we know we can do it, then we're going to do it. And that's one thing my dear brother, my blood brother Holla, not my blood brother, but that's one thing that he's passionate about, which is the BAIO is eventually going to have a fund, but we're not going to have a fund until we have consensus and we know we can put up a transparent Black African fund that people can see a counter on the side of the screen, that every time you log on, you know exactly how much money we got and where it's going to go. And you know something? We're the only people that want to do something like that. Everybody else wants to tell you donate. We're going to tell you later. You don't need to know the specifics and the details of the money that we have. Fuck that. We're never going to do something like that, because all of us was lied to in one way, shape, or form by some crooked ass leader that did that. And I'm not naming any names, but you can figure out who I'm talking about. And so therefore, for us, we refuse to put you out there. You mean like, yo, listen, in your city, you can all come together through Google Hangout. You don't have to be in the streets. You know what I'm saying? In your city, you can meet at a coffee shop. Everybody can have on their fly clothing. We can go out to eat, which is what we're going to do in New York City one day and stuff like that. And we can do that. But the day, let me tell you something, brother. The day of you standing on the corner with the sun beaming the salt out of your body, that day is over. It's over. And I don't know why it took so long for that day to be over, but it's over. We will never, ever, ever do that, because like you just said, just as I am a success story and I can say I use the teaching to get what I have today, brother, man, there's so many people who are failure stories and they can say,
oh man,
you know what I'm saying? And it breaks my heart. And I used to, listen, brother Dynas, I must confess, I used to be like, well, your fault. You didn't use the teaching like you were supposed to use. And I was,
so what made you be more sympathetic to that? Instead of saying like, hey, you didn't use the teaching, it's your fault, or you control your own reality, your own fate.
Yep, that too. Well, you know what happened, brother, is I began to realize how blessed I am. Listen, I believe, this is going to ruffle a couple of feathers in the chat, brothers and sisters, but forgive me for saying this. I believe in context and I believe in DNA.
Right.
I believe that if you're born in a context where your mother and father are entrepreneurs, that you have a strong chance of being an entrepreneur yourself.
Right.
I believe that you're born, if your dad and mom were hard workers, even if you never met your dad, if they were hard workers, you got a strong chance of being a hard worker yourself.
Right.
I believe that if your mom and dad basically just lied in the streets and did nothing, you got a lot to work against. And I'm not judging you and judging your mom and dad. But what I'm saying is that you have a lot to work against, because that's always going to be in you, fighting for you to be that person. And so for me, what I looked at is I'm very blessed that not only do I have a dad that's an entrepreneur, but I have grandmother and grandfather that was entrepreneur also. And that is in my blood. So at some point, it was inevitable that a switch was going to click off in my head, and I was going to realize I need to do some things for myself. But there's people out there that don't have that, brother. There's people out there who grew up, their mother and fathers and their grandfathers was criminals. What do you say to somebody like that when they come into a movement and all they want to do is give their life to a movement because it's the first thing that meant something to them, and then the movement dies and they got nothing left? You're going to sit there and tell them, oh, you should have followed the teaching. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. And you're being insensitive, and I hope you get yours when you think that way. And so for me, I can't think that way. I always have sympathy, and I always try to help them brothers and sisters. Man, some of them brothers and sisters is lost on drugs. Let me tell you something, brothers. Some brothers I grew up with, they're out there with signs saying, Honorable Elijah Muhammad is coming back. He's still alive. He's on the mother plane. And they lost their mind. And I'm pretty sure in Dr. York's movement, there's a lot of people like that also, because I met a lot of them. And these are the brothers and sisters who gave their life, and they still can't believe Dr. York is in jail. They can't believe it. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, for me, I would never do it. I swear I would never do it. I just would never do it. I would never do it, because I know I'm just blessed to have what I have in my life and have the parents I have.
Let's see here. There's another question in the chat room, or a statement in the chat room. As far as no nation in Africa will allow that, like no nation in Africa will allow another nation or whatnot. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that person would know because they tried it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They had the money, they had the people, they had the proposals, they tried it, and they got turned down by every African nation. You know what I'm saying? And so they know, so they tried it. So why should we, Dynas? Why should
exactly.
I mean, you've been over there and you've talked to people who said, we down, we're going to do it for you. And
Right.
this fool in this chat room is saying to you, no, they wouldn't. You have posted many times on your Facebook page that they said that they ready. And this fool is saying that they didn't because he tried it already. You know what I'm saying? He tried it already. It didn't work out. He's got the proof. He's got files of people that said no in various different languages, including Swahili. So he knows. Get out of here, yo. Like, come on. My thing to you is this. You know, I thought about this when you had that young brother on that was from the Nation of Islam,
Right.
and one of my brothers in the chat room had asked, "Does the Nation of Islam believe in land infrastructure and nationhood?" You mean, brother, man, that brother wasn't even qualified to answer that question because he only joined in 2014. What does he know? My point of bringing this up is this: if you feel that way, what are you doing here? If you feel that no African nation will ever give us a nation, what are you doing here? Why are you at this show? Why don't you go watch? I don't know. Why don't you go watch a men going on their own show, MGTOW, or why don't you watch something like that? Because if you're here and you're listening to us, that means you want a nation, you believe it's possible, so you're trying to vibe with people that's down for that. I don't understand why you show up if you don't believe that. I really don't, other than the troll. And if you trolling, what does that say about your life? But to me, my thing is that again, even if I didn't have faith that that would happen, brother man, you have already told us that and you've been there. You know what I'm saying? You have been there. So here's the funny thing about it. You notice how those questions don't come up no more when y'all going to Africa? Because now we got you. You know what I'm saying? That question don't come up no more. Because you not only have you been over there, you going back. You know
Right.
what I'm
I'll be
saying?
leaving in about 3 weeks.
Exactly. So they can't say, "Oh, yeah, well, y'all ain't never been to Africa." Excuse me, the guy that's sitting over there with that shirt on, which I would like to have one of those, but the guy sitting over there with that shirt on, he's been there. He's talked to them. You have not talked to them. You talking out your ass. Because in reality, if look, the point is this: if you're saying no African nation would allow that, that is a limit of your imagination. It's also a limit of your faith. And quite frankly, what is your alternative? To do it right here? You know what I'm saying? And when you say that, I don't did 100 of shows killing that narrative. But the fact of the matter is this: people say, "Oh, well, you know, the Black Panthers wanted 6 states." You know what I'm saying? By United States, they wanted 6 states in the South. I'll tell you what's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Right.
But for us to be given land in Africa, come on now. There's people that's buying land now in Africa. You know what I'm saying? There's people. There's a lot of people on Facebook that have bought land in Africa. What makes you think we can't do it? Because so anyway, I don't know. I don't even know why I'm entertaining that question. Next question.
All right. Let's see what's in the chat room. Guys, please ask questions. Make sure you get to hit that like button as well.
Well, I got to bounce in a couple of minutes anyway, big brother.
Okay. Okay. Well, so one more question. One more question.
Okay.
Let's see here. With the right amount of money, it is possible to build a nation in Africa. That's a statement. Let's see what else we got here. You can create a community anywhere in the world if you have money. Let's see here.
These are smart people right here.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. Last question. If what country would we have the best prospects of forming our nation in? I know. Kala has brought up Angola a lot.
I didn't know if we were saying that on live.
My bad.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't know if we were saying that on live, so I'm not.
I didn't know either. My bad. Oops.
Yeah, so I'm not, big brother. I'm not gonna. I mean, the person that answered that question, it's a good question. I thank you for asking the question. I'm not gonna answer that.
Okay. All right. Cool.
What I would ask you to do, whoever that is in the chat, hopefully you will join the Ning site. It's popping. I've been on there. I'm just like, wow, it's popping. And with discussing stuff like that, that's not something that I'm going to talk about live.
Okay. All right. Well, my bad. I apologize.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
So with that being said, anything you like to share in closing, brother Dawud?
Man, I love y'all. I love all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Everybody down with the mission. I love you, big brother. I hope and pray that you have a safe trip over and a safe trip back. I'm thankful for what you do. I'm thankful that my brothers could come on your show and you allow them to come on the show just on a whim. You know what I'm saying? And it's a beautiful thing for us. We was trapped with that Blog Talk Radio thing, and now we found a resurgence with YouTube. I guess my final statement regarding the topic is this. Your role in nationhood individually, brothers and sisters, is you have to think about what am I going to contribute to the nation. Me being a security practitioner and really a security engineer, I study book upon book trying to figure out how would I harden a nation in Africa. I understand that we use a certain frequency of electricity here in America, and there's a different frequency of electricity that they use in Africa. I'm studying that. I understand that heat and light affect the devices that I use in my industry differently in Africa than they do here. These are the kind of things I'm thinking about for the future of the BAIO, because me being a security technician and practitioner, my job is going to be harden Afghanistan. Is going to be to make sure you can't break in, to make sure you can't attack, to make sure it's well defensible, even by drones. So I have to always think about that. I have to think about cybersecurity, not just the stuff money in my pocket, but what my future will be as far as if we have somebody that tries to attack our nation with a cyber attack, how do we defend against that? That's where your mind should be. And when you have a nationalist mental architecture, every day you go to work, let's just say you're going to work and you're just a home health aide, then you have to think, because we're going to have seniors in our nation. How would you take care of seniors in our nation? When you start thinking like that, then you have answered the question, what is your role in nationhood? But as long as your only thought is, how can I hook up with these guys on the Ning site and talk garbage? You're not really that serious yet. Every day you got to wake up and say to yourself, what is my role in an independent nation off the shores of America on the continent of our ancestors? And when you do that, you've answered the question, what is your role in nationhood? Thank you, big bro.
Thank you, Femi. How can everybody reach out to you, Brother Dawud?
I'm Dawud Muhammad on Facebook, but really on the Ning site, which is on BLAfrikstan9.ning. I'm pretty sure they put it. I mean, I'm pretty sure they put it in the chat room.
Yep.
Well, I'm there also as Minister Dawud, I think. Yeah, I'm there as Minister Dawud, so I'll be there. I'll be there a lot more. You know what I'm saying? So they can reach out to me there. But on Facebook, I'm Dawud Muhammad. I have a star and crescent, red and white. But really, I don't really say too much on Facebook because I don't believe in it like that. So you know, you've seen that. I crack jokes on Facebook and that's it. You wouldn't know I'm the guy here by my Facebook post because I don't believe in Facebook like that. You know what I'm saying? So also you can vibe with me if you join the BAIO group on Facebook. I'm usually in there. Also, I'm actually an admin there. If you're in New York, I can't wait to meet you because we're gonna do a meetup. I don't give a damn what anybody say. Come hella high water, we're gonna do a meetup sometime in August. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. So join the BAIO New York chapter. And if you want to send me an email, you know, you could add me on my Facebook page. And I just want to say this: I got to start doing shows on my page because I'm on your show now. I'm getting subscriptions. I'm like, God damn it, that means I can do shows now. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to let nobody down. And there's a whole bunch of people. I'm getting like 3 subscriptions a week, and I'm like, I don't do no shows, so I'm gonna start doing shows again. Kind of like this, but it's not gonna
30 minutes or once a week for an hour, you know, just to keep it.
Yeah, I will. I promise I will. So anyway, thank you, big brother. Have a great night.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Make sure you go to Search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also go to Africa Personified on those same platforms. Make sure you go to searchforuhuru.com, dynastymir.com, africapersonified.africa, and go to amazon.com, search your name, Dynasty Mirror. Please buy a book. Until next time, family, peace.